I stared at the neat stacks of bills in Cordelia's hands. The wall safe behind her desk hung open, empty. 4 in the morning shouldn't reveal company secrets like this. Nikita. My name left her lips as a whisper, then hardened. You're not supposed to be here. I wasn't. The quarterly presentation needed finishing, and I'd returned after dinner to complete it. Now, at this ungodly hour, I stood frozen in her office doorway. Cordelia didn't panic. That's what terrified me. She simply continued counting, manicured nails, flipping through $100 bills with practiced ease. Close the door. I did. Lock it. I did that too. Her eyes never left the money. Sit. The guest chair felt like a witness stand. Cordelia finally looked up, her expression eerily calm. 8 years at this company, correct? That tiny apartment by the train tracks? Your mother's medical bills? My throat tightened. How did she know about Mom? I notice things, Nikita. Who stays late? Who needs what? She squared the money into a neat pile. Everyone has problems. Everyone needs solutions. I don't. Tomorrow, a new client account appears in the system. You'll be assigned to it. Double your current salary. Her smile never reached her eyes. All you need to remember is you came in early today, not late, and my office door was locked. You never saw me. But the cameras have been on a loop since midnight. Nothing exists. She tucked the money into her designer bag. Do we understand each other? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from HR. Congratulations on your promotion to senior analyst. Effective immediately. Cordelia's smile widened. See? Problems. Solutions. The next morning, I sat at my desk staring at the quarterly financials that had appeared in everyone's inbox. Something caught my eye. $250,000. Listed under operational expenses. I flipped back through previous reports. This category hadn't existed before. My promotion suddenly made terrible sense. Nikita! Cordelia appeared wearing a blazer that probably cost more than my rent. Team meeting in 10 to discuss your new client. 12 coworkers gathered, all looking at me with barely concealed envy or confusion. For 3 years, I'd watched promotion after promotion pass me by, despite my performance metrics leading the department. Now, overnight, I'd leapfrogged half the team. As you know, Cordelia announced, we've secured the Winter Garden account. Nikita will be taking point. Winter Garden? I'd never heard of them. Quarterly budget is $250,000, she continued. Nikita has demonstrated exceptional loyalty to our team goals. The word loyalty hung in the air like a threat. If you're still with me, this story only gets more intense. Hit like and subscribe if you want to know how deep this corporate betrayal goes. Comment what you would have done in Nikita's position. My name is Nikita Bloom, 29, accounting degree, and until yesterday, a mid-level financial analyst at Pascal Investments. Nothing special, nothing remarkable. Just a woman trying to pay off student loans and keep her mother's cancer treatments covered. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment where the pipes groan and the neighbors argue. My social life consists of monthly drinks with college friends who keep getting promoted while I stay stuck. I'm the reliable one, the one who double-checks everyone's math, the one who never causes trouble. Until now. That night, I couldn't sleep. The weight of what I'd witnessed crushed my chest. By agreeing to silence, I'd become an accomplice. By morning, I'd made my decision. I arrived early, before most of the team. The office felt different now, less like a workplace and more like a crime scene. I pulled up the Winter Garden client file, empty except for the budget allocation. Admiring your new opportunity? I jumped. Cordelia stood behind me, coffee in hand. Just getting familiar with it, I said, closing the screen. Smart. We should discuss strategy over lunch. Not a request. At the restaurant, expensive, private, Cordelia ordered wine I couldn't afford and spoke about everything except Winter Garden. She asked about my mother's treatment, my apartment lease, my student debt. Each question felt like she was taking inventory of my vulnerabilities. You know, she said, swirling her wine, I started where you are, underpaid, undervalued, but I learned to recognize opportunities. Like Winter Garden? Her eyes narrowed slightly. Exactly like Winter Garden. Do you know why I selected you, Nikita? My performance metrics. She laughed. Performance means nothing. Loyalty means everything. I watched you turn down that headhunter last month. You stayed despite better offers elsewhere. That's rare. How did she know about that call? I'd taken it in the stairwell. I need people who understand discretion, she continued. People who recognize that rules are flexible when necessary. Back at the office, I noticed something else. Jameson, who'd questioned budget discrepancies last quarter, had been transferred to our Pittsburgh office. Lena, who'd reported an accounting irregularity, had been let go during restructuring. That evening, I stayed late, waited until the cleaning crew finished. Then, I did something I'd never done. I accessed our financial archives using Cordelia's computer. Her password was still saved in the system. What I found turned my blood cold. 18 months of phantom operational expenses, different client names, same patterns, nearly $2 million. A noise startled me. I quickly closed everything, heart hammering against my ribs. No one there, just the building settling. I copied key numbers, dates, and account codes into my notebook. Not digital, nothing that could be tracked. Then I left, feeling the weight of every security camera following me. The next morning, Cordelia wasn't at the office. I spent the day in a fog of anxiety, jumping whenever my phone rang. At 4:30, a message, my office, now. She sat behind her desk, expression unreadable. Close the door. This felt horribly familiar. I received an alert, she said, voice perfectly calm. Someone accessed restricted financial records using my credentials last night. My heartbeat echoed in my ears. Strangely, the system logs don't show who. She studied me. But security footage shows you were the last to leave. I forced myself to breathe normally. I finished the Winter Garden proposal. It's on your desk. There is no Winter Garden proposal, Nikita. There is no Winter Garden. The silence stretched between us. I'm restructuring the department, she finally said. Your position is being eliminated. 2 weeks' notice. Her smile returned, cold as January. Unless you'd prefer to resign today, with a recommendation. In that moment, I understood completely. This wasn't just about money. This was power. She enjoyed this, creating hope, then crushing it, giving, then taking away. I'll work my notice, I said. Brave choice. She checked her watch. Clear your desk by end of day. Your system access is already restricted. As I packed my things, coworkers avoided eye contact. Yesterday's golden child, today's cautionary tale. That night, I spread my notes across my kitchen table. The pattern was clear, but I needed more. If I was going down, I was taking her with me. For the next 2 weeks, I played the perfect terminated employee. Cordial, helpful with transition, never alone with Cordelia. Meanwhile, I traced every dollar through the accounting system. The money moved through several shell companies before disappearing, each transfer carefully disguised as legitimate business expenses. But where did it go? On day 12, I discovered the answer. An address on a vendor payment form caught my eye. Not a business district, but industrial land outside town. Property tax records showed it had been purchased through a holding company Cordelia created. I had one chance, 2 days left, before my access disappeared forever. I called in sick on day 13. Instead, I drove to the address, an abandoned warehouse surrounded by chain link fence. The building looked empty, but 3 expensive cars sat in the back lot, including Cordelia's midnight blue luxury sedan. I parked a block away and walked, pretending to be lost when a security camera swiveled toward me. Through dirty windows, I glimpsed movement inside, people in protective gear, tables with equipment, and products being packaged into small containers. This wasn't just embezzlement, this was manufacturing, illegal pharmaceuticals, judging by the setup. A hand grabbed my shoulder. I spun around, heart stopping. You looking for something? A man in a security uniform glared down at me. I'm so sorry, I stammered. My GPS sent me here for a job interview. I think I have the wrong address. His eyes narrowed. What company? Winter Garden? Maybe I wrote it down wrong. At the name, his posture changed subtly. No interviews today. You should leave. I nodded, walking quickly back to my car, feeling his eyes on me the entire way. That night, my apartment door showed signs of tampering. Nothing inside was missing, but everything felt slightly shifted. They knew. They'd been here. On my final day, Cordelia called me to her office one last time. I wanted to personally thank you for your service, she said, handing me my final paycheck, and remind you of the confidentiality agreement you signed when hired. I took the envelope. Of course. Good, because people who forget, she leaned forward. Well, they tend to regret it, deeply and permanently. Her eyes held mine, and in them, I saw something worse than greed. I saw someone who believed herself untouchable. As I turned to leave, she added, "Give my regards to your mother. Terminal illness is so difficult. Hospitals can be such dangerous places, don't you think?" The threat against my mother wasn't subtle. My hands shook as I cleaned out my desk, avoiding eye contact with former colleagues who suddenly found reasons to be elsewhere. The company badge I'd worn proudly for 3 years went into the security box with a dull clank. I spent that night pacing my apartment, jumping at every sound. The hospital where Mom received treatment suddenly seemed exposed, vulnerable. I called to check on her twice, making excuses about forgetting what time her next appointment was scheduled. "Nikita, honey," Mom said during my second call. "What's really going on? You sound strange." "Just work stress," I lied. "How are you feeling?" "Better than you, sounds like." "Don't worry about me. I've got Nurse Patty keeping an eye on me. Sweet woman brings me extra pudding cups." That small kindness from a stranger broke something in me. Tears streamed down my face as I realized how many lives Cordelia had damaged while everyone looked away. The single mother from accounting who'd been fired last month and lost her health insurance for her asthmatic child. The older man from compliance who'd had to postpone retirement after being pushed out. And how many others had suffered from whatever was being produced in that warehouse. I wiped my tears and made a decision. Fear wouldn't protect me or Mom. Only action would. The next morning, I withdrew my emergency savings, $3,200 that had taken years to accumulate, and rented a small storage unit across town, paying cash. There, I created a physical record of everything I'd discovered. Timeline, money trail, photos of the warehouse I'd managed to snap before being confronted. Names of everyone who'd been pushed out after asking questions. I couldn't trust digital records. Cordelia had proven she could access anything connected to the internet. Paper couldn't be hacked. That afternoon, I visited Mom at the hospital, bringing her favorite lemon tarts. "I got a new job," I told her, manufacturing enthusiasm. "Different company, better pay." "That's wonderful." Her smile lit up her pale face. "Where?" I gave her the name of a competitor across town. "It's all happening fast. I start Monday." "You deserve it, always working so hard while others take credit." If only she knew how right she was. As I left the hospital, a sleek car pulled alongside me in the parking lot. The passenger window lowered. "Cordelia." "How touching," she said. "Mother-daughter time. Precious at this stage, isn't it?" My body went rigid. "What do you want?" "Just checking in. Concerned about your transition. Finding new employment can be challenging without references." Her smile glittered like broken glass, especially when potential employers hear certain things. "Are you following me? Don't flatter yourself. I have a dermatology appointment." She gestured toward the medical complex adjacent to the hospital. Curious coincidence, though. Nothing about this woman operated on coincidence. "Good luck with your job search," she said as the window closed. "And do be careful crossing streets. Accidents happen so easily." The car pulled away, leaving me shaking with rage and fear. I made 3 decisions that day. First, I moved Mom to a different hospital under a friend's recommendation, telling her it had better specialists for her condition. Second, I stopped using my phone and bought a prepaid one with cash. Third, I found a temporary job waiting tables, where Cordelia and her circle would never set foot. For 2 weeks, I lived small, waited tables, visited Mom, added to my evidence collection. Each night, I struggled with what to do. Going to the police seemed obvious, but Cordelia had connections everywhere. Without proof beyond my notes, I'd be dismissed, or worse. Then I met Thalia. She came into the diner at closing time, ordered coffee, and tipped generously. The next night, same thing. By the third night, we were talking. "Nobody takes this job if they have options," she said, stirring her coffee endlessly. "What's your story?" Something about her steady gaze made me want to trust her. "Corporate fallout. I saw something I shouldn't have." She nodded. "Been there. That's why I became a journalist." My pulse quickened. "What kind of journalist?" "Investigative. Currently freelancing after my newspaper downsized." She slid a card across the table. "If your something is newsworthy, I'm all ears." I pocketed the card, not committing. The next day, I researched Thalia online. Her credentials checked out. Award-winning articles on corruption, several involving companies like mine. But was it a trap? Had Cordelia somehow engineered this too? I watched the diner for 3 nights before my shift, looking for signs that Thalia was meeting anyone suspicious. Nothing. She came alone, worked on her laptop, left alone. On the 4th night, I brought my notebook to work. "Hypothetically," I said, sliding into her booth after my shift, "what would someone need to expose corporate theft and illegal manufacturing?" Her eyes lit up. "Hypothetically? Evidence, witnesses, paper trails. and someone crazy enough to publish it despite potential blowback. And if the person involved had connections to law enforcement, then you'd need ironclad proof before approaching anyone, and someone watching your back. She closed her laptop. Is this hypothetical conversation becoming real? I slid my notebook across the table. Maybe. Over the next week, Thalia and I met regularly at different locations, never the same place twice. She helped organize my evidence, asked questions I hadn't considered, suggested additional documentation we needed. This is bigger than I thought, she said one night, reviewing everything spread across her kitchen table. $2 million missing is one thing, but pharmaceutical manufacturing? That's federal territory. So we go to the FBI? Not yet. We need the final connection, proof that links Cordelia directly to the warehouse operation. Right now, it's all circumstantial. We developed a plan. Thalia would observe the warehouse, documenting patterns of activity. I would approach former colleagues who'd been terminated, seeking additional witnesses. The first person I contacted was Lena, the accountant who'd reported irregularities before being fired. I can't talk about this, she said when I brought up Cordelia. We sat in a park, 3 towns over, her children playing nearby. I signed an NDA. What if she's hurting people? I asked. Not just firing them, but worse? Lena looked at her playing children. I have too much to lose. We all do, that's why she wins. Her eyes darted to mine. 2 weeks before I was fired, I found duplicate vendor payments. When I flagged them, Cordelia said she'd handle it personally. The next day, the records were gone, like they never existed. Would you be willing to make a statement about that? Only with ironclad protection. She gripped my arm. You don't understand. After I was fired, someone broke into my house. Nothing was taken, but my children's school photos were rearranged on the mantle. A warning. My stomach twisted. I understand better than you know. Over the next week, I spoke with 4 more former employees. Each had similar stories. Questions raised, subtle threats, jobs lost. 2 agreed to make statements if others would join them. Meanwhile, Thalia documented regular deliveries to the warehouse, large chemical shipments arriving under cover of darkness, workers who never seemed to leave, distribution vans with changing license plates. We're getting close, Thalia said during our daily check-in, but we need someone inside, current information that can't be dismissed, as disgruntled ex-employee testimony. That night, I received a text from an unknown number. This is Preston from accounting. Heard you're asking questions. I have answers. Meet tomorrow, Lakeside Park, 2 p.m. Preston had started at Pascal after I'd left. I'd never met him, but he had access to current financial records. Exactly what we needed. It could be a trap, Thalia warned when I called her. Or our missing piece, I countered. I'll be careful. The park was busy with afternoon joggers and mothers pushing strollers. I chose a bench with clear sightlines in all directions, noting exit routes. At 2:05, a man in his early 30s approached, looking nervous. Nikita? He asked. I nodded. I don't have much time, Preston said, sitting beside me but watching the path. Things are worse than you think. The money, it's not just 2 million. It's closer to 5. And it's not just Cordelia. There are others involved. Higher-ups. My pulse raced. Do you have proof? He patted his messenger bag. Everything's here. Account numbers, transfer records, names. His hands trembled. I can't go back there. They're watching everyone since you started asking around. Who told you I was asking questions? Imani from HR. She said, his eyes widened, focusing on something behind me. We need to go. Now. I turned to see 2 men in dark suits walking purposefully toward us. Preston bolted, running toward the park exit. I moved in the opposite direction, toward a crowded playground. The men split up, one following Preston, one coming after me. I weaved through playground equipment, past startled parents, toward the parking lot. My car was 3 rows back. A hand grabbed my jacket. I spun free, elbowing backward, connecting with something solid. A grunt of pain. I ran harder. Reaching my car, I fumbled with keys, heart hammering. The engine started as the man reached my window. I reversed sharply, forcing him to jump back, then sped away. At the park exit, I saw Preston being forced into a black SUV, his messenger bag confiscated, our evidence, our witness, gone. I drove aimlessly for hours, changing direction randomly, checking constantly for tails. When I finally felt safe, I called Thalia. They knew, I said, voice shaking. They took Preston, all our new evidence. Where are you? Come to my place. We need to regroup. No. They might follow me to you. I'll go somewhere else tonight. I swallowed hard. What do we do now? We have enough to approach authorities, she said. Not as much as I'd like, but enough to trigger an investigation. What about Preston? One problem at a time. Go somewhere safe. I'll make some calls. I checked into a motel using cash and a fake name, then collapsed on the bed, adrenaline finally crashing. My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. We know what you're doing. Last warning. Walk away or people get hurt. Starting with Nurse Patty, who brings your mother extra pudding. Ice spread through my veins. They knew about Mom's nurse. They'd been listening somehow. Before I could process this, another text arrived with an image attachment. I opened it, then dropped the phone like it burned me. A photo of my mother, asleep in her hospital bed, taken hours ago, based on the clock visible on her nightstand. The message below it, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Come alone to the address below. Bring everything you've collected. Or, next time, she won't wake up. I stared at the phone, my entire body trembling. They'd been inside Mom's hospital room, her new room at the different hospital. They'd gotten past security, nurses, everything. The realization hit me like a physical blow. Nowhere was safe. I called Mom's hospital, hands shaking so badly I misdialed twice. Can you check on Patricia Bloom in room 312? I'm her daughter. One moment. The seconds stretched like hours. The nurse just checked on her. She's sleeping comfortably. Is there a nurse named Patty on that floor? Yes, Nurse Patricia is on duty tonight. Can you ask someone to stay in my mother's room until I get there? It's an emergency. 20 minutes later, I rushed through hospital corridors, security badge clutched in my hand. Mom was still sleeping, but now a nursing assistant sat in the corner, reading a magazine. Family emergency, I explained when she raised an eyebrow at me. I just need to sit with her. The woman nodded and left. I collapsed into the chair beside Mom's bed, watching her chest rise and fall. The gentle beep of monitors provided a strange comfort. She was alive, safe for now. I texted Thalia. They threatened my mother, sending photo of her sleeping, demanding meeting tomorrow with all evidence. Her response came instantly. Don't go alone. Trep. Call police. They mentioned her nurse by name. They're inside the hospital. Police won't arrive in time if they decide to hurt her. My phone rang. Thalia calling. I stepped into the hallway to answer. Listen to me, she said, her voice tense. This is escalating faster than I expected. These aren't just corporate embezzlers anymore. These are dangerous people. I know that, I hissed. They're in my mother's hospital room. You can't give them what they want. Once they have everything, they have no reason to keep either of you alive. The truth of her words hit me like cold water. Then what do? We need leverage. Something they want more than your evidence. Like what? I'm not sure yet, but I have contacts. People who can help. Let me make some calls. She paused. Can you move your mother? I glanced back at Mom's sleeping form. Not without raising questions. She's mid-treatment. Then stay with her. Don't leave her alone for a second. I'll call you back in an hour. I hung up and returned to Mom's bedside, mind racing. What leverage could possibly protect us against people willing to threaten a cancer patient? At 2 a.m., Mom stirred. Nikita? What are you doing here so late? I forced a smile. Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd check on you. She studied my face. Even weak from chemo, nothing escaped her. You're lying. What's wrong? Nothing's. Don't. Her voice was soft but firm. I've been sick, not stupid. Something's been wrong for weeks. Tell me. So I did. Not everything, not the warehouse or the drugs, but enough. The money, Cordelia, the threats. Mom listened silently, her thin fingers gripping mine with surprising strength. When I finished, she didn't look afraid. She looked angry. These people think they can threaten my daughter? In my room? She shook her head. Bloom women don't scare so easily. Mom, this isn't one of your detective novels. These people are dangerous. So am I when someone threatens my family. She straightened in bed. Now, what's your plan? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Thalia, I found something, she said without preamble. 2 things, actually. First, Preston is alive. My police contact spotted him being escorted into Pascal's building an hour ago. That's good news? Maybe. He could be cooperating, or they could be forcing him to reveal what he told you. She took a breath. Second, I identified one of the men who chased you. Former detective, now private security. Works for an agency with connections to the mayor's office. The mayor? What does that have to do with Cordelia? I'm not sure yet, but it means this goes higher than we thought. Corporate embezzlement rarely involves this level of muscle, unless it's protecting something bigger, like a drug manufacturing operation. Exactly. I need a few more hours to connect the dots. Can you stall tomorrow's meeting? I checked the time, 2:30 a.m. How? Text them. Say you need until noon to gather everything. Buy us time. After hanging up, I sent the text. The response came immediately. 10:30. Final offer. Bring everything. Or consequences start with nurse. Patty? I showed Mom. Her eyes hardened. They're watching the hospital. We need to get Patty out of here. How? We can't warn her without explaining everything. Mom thought for a moment. Call the nurses' station. Ask them to send Patty home because she seems tired. Say I mentioned she was coughing, and you're concerned about infection. It worked. The floor supervisor agreed to send Patty home and replace her. One small victory. At 7 a.m., Mom's oncologist arrived for rounds. I pulled him aside outside her room. My mother needs security, I said quietly. Someone's made threats against her. He frowned. What kind of threats? It's complicated. A workplace issue that escalated. Can we get a security guard? He nodded. I'll arrange it immediately. We take patient safety very seriously. By 8 a.m., a uniformed guard was stationed outside Mom's room. Not foolproof, but better than nothing. Thalia called again. I've been digging all night. This goes beyond Pascal Investments. The mayor's brother-in-law owns the property where that warehouse is located. Tax records show the holding company that leases it is connected to 3 city council members. Are you saying city officials are involved in Cordelia's drug operation? I'm saying the protection she has isn't just corporate, it's political. That's why they're willing to go so far to silence you. My stomach dropped. I have to meet them in 2 hours. No, you don't. We need to take this to federal authorities. Local police can't be trusted. There's no time, I felt panic rising. They're watching my mother. If I don't show up, listen to me. I've arranged protection. Real protection. I have a friend at the FBI. He's sending agents to the hospital right now. Unmarked. They'll blend in with staff. Can they get here in time? They're already en route. But you can't go to that meeting. Once you're there, you lose all leverage. I looked at Mom, now awake and watching me intently. What about the evidence? They know where my storage unit is. They'll destroy everything. Not everything. I made copies last week, remember? Stored them in my safety deposit box. We still have ammunition. A small spark of hope flared. So what do we do? Stay with your mother. My FBI contact will call you directly in the next hour. Tell him everything. They're putting together a task force as we speak. After hanging up, I explained everything to Mom. For the first time, she looked truly worried. This isn't just about money anymore, is it? She asked. No, it's bigger. Much bigger. At 9:15, a nurse entered. One I didn't recognize. She checked Mom's vitals with practiced efficiency. Doctor ordered new medication, she said, preparing an injection for Mom's IV. Something felt wrong. Which doctor? What medication? She didn't look up. Dr. Reynolds, for pain management. My mother's doctor is Dr. Lin. There is no Dr. Reynolds on her case. The woman's hands stilled. Our eyes met. In that instant, I knew. I lunged for the call button as she reached into her pocket. The security guard burst in at my shout, tackling the false nurse before she could pull out whatever she was reaching for. A syringe clattered to the floor. Within minutes, hospital security had the woman detained. She said nothing, her face expressionless as they led her away. My phone rang. Unknown number. You shouldn't have done that. Cordelia's voice slithered through the speaker. Now we do this the hard way. Federal agents are on their way. I bluffed. It's over, Cordelia. She laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You think I don't have people inside federal agencies too? You have one last chance. The address I sent, 10:30. Come alone or the next person through your mother's door won't be stopped by some rent-a-cop. The line went dead. 10 minutes later, real FBI agents arrived. 2 men and a woman in plain clothes. Credentials discreetly shown. The lead agent, Rivera, listened to my story without interruption, his expression growing more serious with each detail. This operation has been on our radar, he confirmed, but we didn't know about the Pascal Investments connection. It fills in missing pieces. What do we do about their 10:30 deadline, I asked. We'd like you to make the meeting. My blood went cold. You want me to walk into a trap? With full surveillance and backup, he clarified. We need to identify all players. This could be our chance to break the entire operation. And my mother? We'll have round-the-clock protection. We're moving her to a secure location now. Mom squeezed my hand. Do it, she said. End this. I looked from her to Agent Rivera. How do I know I can trust you? Cordelia said she has people in federal agencies. You don't know, he said bluntly, but consider the alternative. He was right. I had no better options. I'll do it, but I need your word. My mother's safety is the priority. You have it. They fitted me with a hidden microphone and tracking device, disguised as ordinary jewelry. Agent Rivera gave me final instructions while Mom was prepared for transport. Say as little as possible. Just listen. We need names, connections, anything they reveal. We'll be monitoring everything. I nodded, fear and determination warring inside me. Mom grabbed my hand before they wheeled her out. Remember what I taught you. Bloom women bend, but we don't break. At 10:25, I parked outside an abandoned office building on the edge of town. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. In my bag was a dummy set of evidence, enough to look convincing. I stepped out of the car, feeling utterly exposed, despite knowing agents were positioned nearby. The building entrance loomed before me, dark and foreboding. Taking a deep breath, I walked inside, head high, heart hammering against my ribs. The lobby was empty, dust-covered. A single elevator stood open, waiting. I stepped inside, the doors closed, and I began my descent into what felt like my own execution. The elevator descended smoothly, each floor ticking by on the indicator above the doors. My heart pounded so loudly I worried it might interfere with the recording device. 5 floors down, the elevator stopped. The doors opened to reveal a renovated office space, nothing like the abandoned building above. Cordelia sat behind a glass desk, 2 men in suits standing on either side of her. One I recognized from the park confrontation. The other was new, older, with silver hair and an expensive watch that caught the light. Right on time, Cordelia said, gesturing to the chair across from her. I appreciate punctuality. I remained standing. Let's get this over with. First, your phone. She extended her hand. I placed my phone on her desk. One of the men took it, removed the battery, and placed both pieces in a metal box. Now the bag, Cordelia said. I handed over my tote containing the dummy evidence. The second man emptied it onto the desk, spreading out folders and notebooks. Is this everything? Cordelia asked, flipping through pages. Everything I have? I answered truthfully. The real evidence was safe, with Thalia and the FBI. The silver-haired man spoke for the first time. Search her. The first man approached me. I stood perfectly still as he patted me down professionally, checking for weapons or recording devices. The bracelet Agent Rivera had given me contained both a microphone and tracker, designed to evade standard detection. Clean, he announced. Silverhair nodded. Good. Now we can talk. He stepped forward. My name is Harlan. I understand you've been causing problems for our operation. I discovered financial discrepancies, I said carefully. Following them led me to your warehouse. Curious little accountant, Cordelia remarked. Always digging where you shouldn't. Harlan leaned against the desk. Do you know what we're doing at that warehouse, Miss Bloom? Manufacturing illegal pharmaceuticals. He smiled. Not illegal. Unregulated. There's a difference. People are dying from your products, I said, remembering what Thalia had discovered. People die from FDA-approved drugs too, Harlan shrugged. We provide alternatives for people who can't afford traditional medical care. Think of it as a public service. Funded by stolen money. Redirected, Cordelia corrected. Pascal Investments makes plenty. We simply allocate some of their excess profit toward more humanitarian endeavors. Harlan checked his watch. Enough chit-chat. Confirm for me that this is everything you've collected. All evidence, all copies. It is. And the journalist? Cordelia asked. Thalia Ross. We know you've been working with her. My blood chilled. She doesn't have anything. I only spoke with her once. Cordelia laughed. You're a terrible liar, Nikita. Always have been. It's why you never got promoted. She nodded to one of the men, who left the room. We'll deal with Miss Ross separately. She has nothing to do with this, I insisted. Everyone has something to do with everything, Harlan said cryptically. Now, let's discuss your mother. My hands clenched into fists. What about her? Cancer's expensive, even with insurance. He smiled benevolently. We can help with that. Specialized treatments, experimental options, in exchange for your continued silence. I've given you what you wanted. Leave her alone. Oh, we will. In fact, we'll do better than that. Cordelia opened a drawer and removed a document. This is a job offer. Executive position at one of our partner firms. Triple your previous salary. Full benefits, including exceptional medical coverage for dependents. I stared at her. You're offering me a job? After everything? We reward talent and loyalty, Nikita. You've demonstrated remarkable persistence. We could use someone like you. And if I refuse? Harlan's smile vanished. Then this conversation takes a different direction. One involving your mother's comfort during her remaining time. The threat hung in the air between us. I needed to keep them talking. Give the FBI team time to position themselves. Who else is involved? I asked. The mayor's office? City council? Surprise flickered across Cordelia's face. You have been busy. Money trails lead everywhere, I said, especially when they're sloppy. Careful, Harlan warned. Insulting the people holding your future isn't wise. You need to understand the scope of what you're up against, Cordelia added. This isn't just about me or Pascal Investments. This is about people who can erase lives with a phone call. I nodded slowly. People like you. Exactly. Now, do we have an agreement? Your silence and cooperation in exchange for your mother's well-being and your new career? The moment had come. I took a deep breath. No. Cordelia's expression hardened. Excuse me? No deal. You're not just embezzlers. You're producing counterfeit medication that's killing people. I can't be part of that. Harlan sighed dramatically. That's disappointing. I thought you were smarter. He nodded to the remaining guard. Take her upstairs. Make it look like a robbery gone wrong. The guard moved toward me. This was it. The FBI should be moving in any second. But nothing happened. The guard grabbed my arm. Panic surged through me. Where was the FBI team? Wait, I said desperately. Don't you want to know about the federal investigation? Harlan paused. What federal investigation? The one that started 3 hours ago. The one that's already seized your warehouse. Cordelia laughed. Nice try. We have people watching the warehouse. Nothing's happened. I kept my expression neutral despite the surge of doubt. Had Rivera lied? Was there no backup coming? Check your phone, I challenged. Call your people. Harlan hesitated, then nodded to Cordelia. She removed her phone, dialed a number. When no one answered, she tried another, then another. No answer from the warehouse team, she said, frowning. Harlan's eyes narrowed. You're bluffing. Am I? Why don't you call the mayor's brother-in-law? Ask him if federal agents just executed a search warrant on his property. Real uncertainty crossed their faces now. Cordelia turned on her computer, pulling up a news site. There's nothing here about. She stopped mid-sentence, staring at the screen. I couldn't see what she was looking at, but her face drained of color. Harlan, she said quietly, look at this. He moved behind her desk, leaning over her shoulder. His expression darkened. When did this happen? He demanded. Simultaneously with our meeting, I said. The FBI has been building a case for months. I was just the final piece they needed. It was a lie. They'd only learned about it hours ago, but they didn't need to know that. You're wearing a wire, Cordelia realized. And you've just confirmed your involvement in theft, drug manufacturing, and conspiracy to commit murder, I replied. All recorded and transmitted to agents who should be arriving right about. The elevator dinged. The doors opened to reveal Agent Rivera and 4 armed agents. FBI, hands where we can see them. Everything happened at once. The guard reached for his weapon, but froze when multiple guns pointed at him. Harlan raised his hands slowly. Cordelia, however, lunged for a drawer. Gun! I shouted, diving sideways. A shot rang out, not from Cordelia, but from Agent Rivera. Cordelia screamed, clutching her shoulder as she collapsed back into her chair. Within seconds, the room was secured. Harlan and the guard were in handcuffs. Cordelia sat bleeding, hatred burning in her eyes as an agent applied pressure to her wound. You ruined everything, she hissed at me. I met her gaze steadily. No, Cordelia, you did that yourself. Agent Rivera approached me. Are you all right? I nodded, the adrenaline beginning to fade, leaving me shaky. My mother? Safe. Her transfer to the secure medical facility went smoothly. Relief washed over me. What about Thalia? Cordelia threatened her. We have agents with her too. She's fine. Actually, she's already writing the story. He smiled slightly. Said to tell you it'll be front page material. I watched as Cordelia, Harlan, and the guard were led to the elevator. Cordelia turned back one last time, her face a mask of cold fury. This isn't over, she called. Yes, I replied. It is. 6 months later, I sat in a federal courthouse watching as Cordelia and 17 co-conspirators were sentenced. The investigation had uncovered everything. $5 million in embezzled funds, counterfeit medication that had caused 23 deaths, and corruption extending into the mayor's office and city council. Cordelia received 30 years without possibility of parole. As the judge announced her sentence, Our eyes met across the courtroom. I didn't smile. I didn't nod. I simply held her gaze until officers led her away. Mom sat beside me, now in remission thanks to a clinical trial covered by my new job's insurance. After the trial, Pascal Investments had undergone a complete restructuring. The new CEO had personally asked me to return, offering a director position in their revamped compliance department, creating safeguards against anyone ever doing what Cordelia did, he'd explained. I'd accepted. Thalia's series on the case won a national award. We still meet monthly for coffee, now as friends rather than conspirators. Sometimes I wonder if I could have walked away that first night. I pretended I never saw Cordelia with the money. But then I think about the lives lost to her counterfeit medications, the careers she destroyed, the fear she wielded like a weapon. The greatest revenge wasn't what I did to Cordelia. It was what her own actions did to her when brought into the light. I didn't destroy her. Truth did. As Mom and I left the courthouse that day, a young woman approached me. She introduced herself as the daughter of someone who had died from Cordelia's counterfeit medication. "Thank you," she said simply, "for being brave when others weren't." I nodded, unexpected tears forming. "I just did what needed to be done," she smiled. "That's what bravery is." If this story moved you, please hit like and subscribe for more stories of justice prevailing against all odds. Have you ever stood up against something wrong when it would have been easier to look away? Share your experiences in the comments below. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply refuse to stay silent.